Welcome to the Project, the podcast with the mission to cover every project throughout pop culture and history. I'm Sam.
And I'm Lewis.
And this week we watched Project Eliminator.
We certainly did, from 1991,
Yeah.
with the star of the podcast, the Zag himself.
The Zag-Man.
Frank Zagarino, what a hero.
Yeah.
Actually, whilst looking up this film, something to go up front with because it's topical. I came across somebody who interviewed Frank Zagarino like 10 years ago.
Oh, amazing.
And I was like, it's a pretty short interview, to be fair. I think the interviewer said he spent 2 years like hunting down Frank Zagarino.
Oh God, we're never going to get him to do anything then.
Zagarino's first film was a horror film called Spiker, which he wrote and produced and directed himself.
We've seen that before because we did a little deep dive off the back of Shadow Chaser 3, I think. We did a little see what else is out there kind of thing. And I think that's where we came across Eliminator the first time. So, yeah, Striker, is it? Spiker.
Yeah, Spiker.
Yeah. Which I was hoping was like a vampire slaying thing, but I don't think it's quite anything.
But yeah, there's some key bits of the interview. So I asked like what Frank's up to these days in 2012. And he says, between my kids and 2 businesses, I've got like no time to breathe. So he's not really doing anything. But he said he got into acting because his parents were doing TV commercials in like Miami. So he got into that. His first TV commercial was when he was 10. He said he did about 40 national commercials, from Ford trucks to BMWs to Mountain Dew, Coca-Cola, Pepsi.
Wow.
As a kid. I was like, that's pretty
I can
cool.
imagine him, especially in this, you can kind of imagine him as like a commercial kid in a way. Like he's got a very kind of clean look about him, hasn't he? You can imagine him. Like I know that this is 1991, this film that we're today. But you can imagine him as like a 90s kid almost, you know what I mean? Or like an 80s kid in like a commercial or a film. But we actually mentioned before, I think his son has a bit of a social media following. I don't know if he's a bit of an influencer or whatever, but they talk about here in 1988 he did a film called Tenzan, The Ultimate Mission, which was set and completely shot in North Korea. Okay.
And on IMDb it says Zagarino spent 2 days in prison there, which he says is not true. But he was there for 9 weeks and the North Koreans watched everything they did. He said, I once took a picture in a warehouse and they got all crazy and upset. It was ridiculous. They took the camera and like smashed it up. Yeah. He was like, they didn't do anything else. It was just, but we've heard that you're not meant to take pictures in North Korea.
Yeah, they're quite protective. Even more so now, I imagine, than they were.
But apparently the North Koreans wanted to learn how to make movies. So they were like part funding this and got a crew out there so that they could watch them make movies.
Yeah.
He was asked if he's he talks about Shadow Chaser actually first.
Oh, cool. Okay, yeah.
Because that's kind of his best known thing.
Oh, really?
And he says,
that's a surprise then. Yeah.
Yeah. He was like, the first Shadow Chaser film is really good. I liked it, but then the following films get progressively worse.
Oh, well, we've always said so far at least that 2 is the highlight.
Two's great.
It goes 2, 1, 3.
3
so far,
is weak, but I mean. Zag thinks it gets worse, so maybe the 4th one is interesting, which we'll get to at some point. He talks about his fitness and stuff to get into shape for like Shadow Chaser because he's topless most of those films. And they asked him, I think it's a bit later on, like, would he do more films? And he said he. Let me go. He was like he's divorced. He's got 2 kids to take care of. So he kind of phased it out because films weren't paying as much as he could. He's got his own fitness business.
If somebody came along with the right offer,
he said
kind of what he's...
I would still do a film if someone would offer me a decent part. Yeah, but I'm not going to go do an audition for a budget. $100,000 budget film where I get paid a third of what I used to get paid. Of course, I don't want to do that anymore.
Well, you heard it here first. We need to start a Patreon, put all that money towards getting the Zag-Man back into the films. This is 10 years on from that interview, 11 years on, so maybe he's changed his mind. But all it needs is one person who grew up on like Project Eliminator that loves the Zag-Man and wants him back in,
Yeah.
and just fucking put some money into it. There's got to be some producer or screenwriter or someone out there who's got something that's just like tailor-made.
Yeah, he does say that like if the right offer came along, he'd definitely do a film again. He's getting on a bit now, but
of course
he could be like the old chiseled former like
he could
vet
be
or
the
something.
David Carradine from this film.
He could, yeah. But yeah, I was like, that's quite a fun thing to mention up front.
Yeah,
but,
well, I was thinking of watching through this. I mean, we'll go through it in a lot more detail after a little bit. So I'll say up front here, if you want to skip ahead, we've got time codes in the episode description. So if you want to skip through straight to hearing about our thoughts on Project Eliminator, go ahead and do so. But watching this, I was thinking about, we've just joked before about doing like the Zagarino project or some variation of that. And I would really like to watch more of his films.
Same. When I was watching this, I was thinking, 'cause obviously we do the Silver Screen project alongside this. I was like, we could just, when we're not doing Silver Screen, start like episode 1 of the Zag project.
I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking like, monthly, every 2 monthly thing.
Or just whenever we're not. I mean, our Silver Screen is pretty packed in the coming months.
Again, if we had like a patron, if it was worth us doing that, which at this point, I don't, well, let us know, obviously, if you'd be interested in that. But that would be the perfect kind of thing to be, we could do like a bonus episode.
A Silver Screen style thing. When we got a week off on Silver Screen, we might start the Zag project with his first film and Spiker.
I was going to say, work your way through. And we could even recover, if the format was different, recover some stuff that we've already done. I think you'd have to, really,
I'd quite like to rewatch Shadow Chaser. So.
But yeah, no. So you can tell we've got pretty good kind of views of the Zag-Man and this film in general.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that in a little bit. How are you today, Lewis?
Yeah, I realised I skipped past it because I remember I had that interview.
Right.
I was like, oh shit,
good.
Yeah, I'm hungover, to be honest.
No, I know that already.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not. That was beer last night.
Someone I worked with was down from Wales yesterday for a work thing, so we were like, let's have a drink, and
one thing led to the other.
Yeah, ended up falling asleep on my sofa with my contacts in, which is never a good idea.
Beautiful.
But yeah,
got
so
scratchy eyes
got through today. But yeah, apart from that, all right. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. I work from home today, and I've sat pretty much where I am now for most of the day. So in between finishing watching this film and getting ready for start recording, I was kind of doing as much moving around the flat as I could. I meant to go for like a little walk to kind of move around a bit, but because I had to finish off the film, I kind of didn't really I did like a lot of standing watching, and I was moving my legs around trying to, do a bit of movement because I felt a little bit antsy. But yeah. I'm good though. I'm good. Yeah, I'm very, very good. One thing I was going to mention that I don't know if we ever spoke about this on pod before, but I remember before we changed up the theme, before we've done a bit of a refresh over the last couple of months, I spoke to you, Lewis, about doing like little AI generated voice things of like doing the intro or whatever with like a famous voice or whatever. Do you remember me talking to you about that?
Not really. Okay, go on.
But like recently, you've probably seen like those AI generated voice things have just gone absolutely mad. And there's like jokey ones with like Trump and Biden and that sort of thing. And one of the podcasts that I listened to has started doing the exact thing that I mentioned. No. I'm like, fuck's sake. I mean, I originally wanted to get like a cameo of someone like Zagarino for like part of our promo.
That'd
or something
be so
like that.
good.
But there was no one that was related to our podcast that was available on any of these things. And that's when I started looking to AI stuff. I just thought it could be fun. And now like clearly it's doable, but like we've missed the boat a little bit on it. So yeah, it is what it is. But yeah.
If we do something with like a big star in, we could do a one-off.
Get them in there. At least, fake them.
Yeah.
I don't know how it works though. If you're like making money, which we're not at this point, probably won't ever be. If you're making money, I think it's like commercial use and stuff. Like with Cameo, they're really weird about it.
I think you'd have to straight up be like, this is AI.
Yeah.
This isn't the real person.
Yeah, which is just
they did not share our views. This is satire.
Yeah, them saying like the project is the best podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. You mentioned something just before recording about Lazarus that didn't fit into.
They've started filming. They are still filming. I saw some news that they shut off a couple of streets in Bristol, I think it was. Still filming that. They must must be getting towards the end of it if it's got a summer release date. Although we don't know the release
that was
date,
just
but we're assuming.
I mean, when it was Empire that had those photos, wasn't it?
The Kasabian album for 2006.
Yeah, and the Roman Empire. and Empire of the Sun.
Empire of the Sun.
All those things. Yeah.
Well, I was listening back to that. It's really funny that we mentioned that because we've just been talking about Napoleon.
Yeah.
And it's weird that I went with the Roman Empire, not the French Empire. But...
I did think that as well. But we talked about Gladiator as well, so that might have been
that's
Paul
probably
Mescal as Julius Caesar. Yeah. And we talked about Julius Caesar a couple of weeks ago.
We did. That's probably why it was in my mind.
Yeah. But anyway, what's the first segment?
Oh, you mean Project News?
Yeah.
I think that's my favourite one of the Project News things. It's got that funky little guitar
riff.
riff.
It's a little bit like funky,
Yeah. So the first one I've got from TV Tonight is we acknowledge the offence. The project apologises over guest joke. So there's the Australian TV program The Project. Nothing to do with us.
No. Much more long running than us, actually.
Yes. They had a comedian, Ruben K, on, and
what did he say?
he was talked about because he's an LGBTQIA comedian,
right?
And they're talking about as if he said he'd been warned to accept Jesus' love or you'll burn in hell.
Right.
And he said, I love Jesus. I love any man who can get nailed for 3 days straight and come back for more.
That's a good joke.
That's a good joke. But apparently people were really upset and they had to then say, want to acknowledge the particular offence that hurt caused our Muslim, especially Christian viewers. Obviously, they'll just understand how profound that offence was, and they had to say so. It's really funny that I had to apologise for that joke.
I mean, it's Australian, isn't it? And it, from what I know, is fairly conservative in some ways in its mainstream media and stuff like that. And government and that sort of thing. So, it doesn't surprise me, but also
quite funny. Yeah, I think I've heard that joke before.
I think I've heard something similar. Yeah.
But
obviously, lots of people hadn't heard that joke before. Otherwise they wouldn't be so offended.
The next bit I got is from I don't even know what this website is. The web address is wxhc.com. At the top it says always classic X101.
X101.
Maybe like a radio station.
Sounds like one, yeah.
But anyway, it says Robert De Niro headed to first TV project with Netflix's 0 Day.
Oh.
Didn't realize Robert De Niro had never done TV.
No. But, makes sense, I suppose.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a conspiracy thriller co-produced by Robert De Niro.
Okay.
6-episode project. 0 Day asks the question on everyone's mind: how do we find the truth in a world in crisis, one seemingly being torn apart by forces outside of our control? Some weird conspiracy.
Sounds like an old man program. I don't understand this technology and deep fakes and
maybe it's
AI generated voices.
Robert De Niro is an old man.
Yeah, it's just him sitting there going like,
he's got to be like in his 70s or something, hasn't he?
You know, we need to get Robert De Niro voice on this.
I don't understand podcasts. What's wrong with the radio? Oh, he is old. He's 79.
Oh, that's old.
Yeah, for some reason I thought he'd retired, but apparently not. He's doing a Netflix.
Well, he was in The Irishman not that long ago.
He
which was Netflix as well. So I imagine he's
got a bit of a Netflix deal going
on.
Yeah. So we'll probably hear more about that at some point, but it's something to keep an eye out. 0 Day. The final bit of project news I got is from Far Out magazine.
Okay.
And this may be something for us to consider. And it's an opinion piece by Amy Ferrier, and she says, hear me out. The Florida Project is the greatest coming-of-age movie of the 21st century.
Whoa, big talk.
I don't know if the Florida Project's on our list.
It is, yeah. It was on there super early. And a friend of ours whose birthday is today, actually, he mentioned that he would like to be on that episode.
Did he?
It was very, very early on. And I don't know if that's still the case, but So that's part of the reason that I haven't pushed for it, because I thought I'll check with him and see if he wants to be on it still. I don't know if he's seen it before or if it's just, but yeah.
It's about a 6-year-old girl living in a budget motel near Disney World in Florida.
Right. Okay. Willem Dafoe's the lead adult role, I think.
Oh, is he? Yeah. But I saw that and I was like, oh, cool. That sounds like it's a really good film. We don't often watch really good stuff.
No, it was in the news recently because the motel, I think, in the film and until recently had this kind of bright pink kind of coloring to it, like it was painted really nicely.
Right.
And they've recently painted it like a grey or a cream, and everyone was like, "Oh, they painted over the Florida Project Hotel, motel." Whatever.
I misunderstood this article at first,
right?
Because I read the Florida Project. It says is the greatest coming of age movie. I thought it said the Florida Project is the greatest coming out movie of the 21st century. Right. And then I saw that the magazine's called Far Out, and I was like, oh, it's like an LGBT plus magazine, and they've called themselves Far Out because they're far out the closet and stuff. But I think I've just completely misunderstood that and was slightly hungover.
I mean, it may be, but I think it's more of a kind of.
Well, then I read it was about a 6-year-old, and I was like, it's probably not
one of the earliest coming out.
I mean, it could be, but. That is our project news. Nothing major, just a couple of
I did have something that I wanted to mention.
Oh, you do?
It didn't fit fully into project news, but I thought it was really funny. And when I started looking it up, because basically when I heard it mentioned this thing called the Mayan Train Project, which is a Mexican kind of rejuvenation train situation.
Sorry, just on a quick tangent. Have you seen the Saudis are doing another big weird project? It's like a big cube, like a cube.
They've gone from the line to the cube.
They've done the line, and the next one's apparently a cube with like loads of
they haven't
stuff
even finished
in it.
The line yet.
Apparently, it's like.
Is it basically the same thing, like utopian?
Yeah, I think it's less. Living stuff and more just there's loads of things there. I think they said it's like 15 times like the width of things like the Empire State Building, but the same like heights. It's just this fuck off big cube with shit going on.
The widest skyscraper out there.
Yeah, I was like, that is wild. But sorry.
No. So the connection with Project, the reason I thought I'd bring it up, there's this thing called the Mayan Train Project, or Tren Maya in Spanish, and it's some sort of train thing. They're making like a fast rail system in Mexico or something. Apparently it's been quite heavily criticized because I think it's fucking up the countryside and it's been a bit of a disaster. There's something here, environmental disaster apparently. So but the articles that I'm talking about, first of all, it's from the Associated Press, which really confused me because they've got the same article on like every major thing. And I was reading through different articles, and like the ABC News one, the Guardian one, the NBC News one, they're all the exact same article. And I was like, what the fuck's going on here? But someone has like licensed it out to all of them, I assume. I don't know if this happens often. But anyway, so it doesn't matter which one I'm reading from. But the headline is, Mexican president posts photo of what he claims is an elf.
Right.
So President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador did not seem to be joking when he posted the photo of an alux, a mischievous woodland spirit in Mayan folklore. So, Lewis, if you look this up, Mexico's president posted a photo on his social media account Saturday showing what he said appears to be a mythological woodland spirit, similar to an elf.
President elf.
He wrote the photo was taken 3 days ago by an engineer. It appears to be an alux, adding everything is mystical.
That's quite creepy.
So it's this weird little photo. Do you want to describe it?
So it's at night time and it's like a grainy picture. And it looks like a woman with white hair in a tree.
Yeah, or maybe like a hooded thing, but like almost like a monkey if it had long white hair.
And you can just see
like
white dots of eyes.
Yeah, it is quite creepy, isn't it?
And it's quite big because you can kind of see its like knee sticking out like below.
It is weird. And it apparently, according to this, the president, Lopez Obrador, has long expressed reverence for the indigenous cultures and beliefs, and engineers and workers are in the Yucatan Peninsula constructing a tourist train that is the president's pet project.
Wait.
There we go. But yeah, it goes on about what the things
random.
are like.
Why
it's really weird. Like it's. I mean, like we've had kind of meme presidents and leaders in the past. Like Trump has been. He was pretty weird on social media, but we kind of haven't had anything like this before. And I just thought it was really, really funny that the president of Mexico posted a thing about an elf.
Yeah, like.
Yeah.
That's really bizarre. Like, what is he?
I mean, that picture could be anything. He could have been sent it by someone who's taking the piss.
Yeah.
It could it's not evidence of anything, but it's just really funny that he thought.
Sometimes, like when you got like famous people's Twitters, it's quite often managed by like
this
a PR
is what I was
firm.
thinking, yeah, but this is
clearly not.
He's clearly got at least access himself. Yeah, I just thought that was really funny.
Yeah. What the?
So that's my non-project news of the week.
Cool.
You want to get onto the main topic?
Yeah, so Project Eliminator from 1991. Obviously, the Zag film. It's a pre-Shadow Chaser film.
It's released the year before. So
instead of his blonde sticky up hair, he's got like glorious flowing long blonde hair.
And it looks real, right?
Yeah, I think
I was thinking, did he have to, straight after this film or in like the 6 months following this, shave everything to this flat top, Vanilla Ice?
So I've seen other pictures of him where he's got like blonde hair that kind of curls a bit, but like shorter.
Right.
So if he grew it out, it would just look like this. It looks great. I have to say.
Yeah. And there's a couple of early on. There's some kind of homophobic remarks about him because he's got long hair.
Yeah,
and I'm like, you're just fucking jealous, mate. Like,
as somebody who's also got long hair, I was like, go on, Zag.
He has this kind of like almost like Thor look about him. I mean, some of my I make quite a lot of notes in this, and I'll try not to get too in detail because whatever, we want to move through it and talk about whatever. But one of my early notes is like, this guy's a pretty handsome guy. He's pretty fucking hot.
He looks much better in this than he does in Shadow Chaser.
In Shadow Chasers, all three of them, but the first two especially, he's got this kind of robotic look about him because he's a robot.
Yeah,
and his hair is pretty terrible. Pretty terrible. It's this like bleach blonde color. And
sticks straight up,
and it's like Guile from Street Fighter. Do you know who I'm talking about?
No, but I can imagine. Yeah. I like in this as well. Like in different scenes, you never see him, but he does do different things with his hair. Like he has it in a ponytail quite a bit.
Yeah.
And sometimes he has it like just back and long. Sometimes he has it over his face a bit, and like he clearly looks after his hair.
Yeah, there was a point towards the end where he was sneaking around, and it was like a close up of like the side back, and I was like, it's quite well styled. Like they've done something to the side of it there. And I was like,
I want to know what conditioner he uses.
And also, like just generally talking about like the looks of the characters, I feel like quite a lot of the main cast in this have quite distinctive looks about them, like the outfits and stuff.
There's a few characters that I got mixed up.
Yeah,
but
there's two that I think are intentionally lookalikes because of something that happens. Because when the cops get involved later and they get the one guy instead of the other guy, do you know what I'm talking about? No. But there's also two older guys who look really similar. Is that what you were thinking?
Yeah.
That's confusing. But like David Carradine is like the second build in this, really. Or maybe his first build. He's super popular in America anyway. He had some 70s show called like Kung Fu or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna go through. Yeah. Do you want to go through stuff up front, and then we can do a bit of a chat?
I'll get to David Carradine in a bit. It's directed and written by H.K. Dial.
Wow, that's a name right there.
Yeah.
Sounds like a device from Project Blue Earth.
He had two other major films on his IMDb. I say major. Other top build films on his IMDb page. One was called Lone Wolf McQuaid.
Wow.
What a title. Yeah. Which looks like a low budget action film, kind of like this. And then he didn't do a film for like 10 years. And then he did a film called Saved.
Okay.
Which looked like from the poster like a teen like comedy.
Oh, really?
And it's a film about a girl who goes to a Christian school and gets pregnant and gets like ostracized by everyone at the school.
Okay.
And I was like, that's such a weird.
That's so different from this. Yeah.
Do Eliminator, Lone Wolf McQuaid, and then 10 years later do this Christian film.
Is it pro-Christian then?
I think it is a Christian film.
She gets saved or whatever.
And like in the poster, she's got like a halo.
Right, okay. I mean, it could be like a piss take, maybe, but
it could be, but I was like, that is
maybe
wild.
he found Jesus after all these horrible
it had
action
like
films.
a 6.7 on IMDb, so it's not terrible.
Okay.
It's got David Carradine, as you said, who I only really know as Bill from Kill Bill 1 and 2.
Yeah.
He was in that TV show you mentioned.
Kung Fu. I did a quick look when I started watching this Project Eliminator, and it's something to do with like he's a Shaolin monk who like wanders around the old west like fighting people.
Nice.
And it's like that sounds pretty cool. He's got like a Chinese name in that. So it's like, I don't know what's going on.
He was in Death Race 2000 in the 60s as well.
Oh, okay. Was he in the new one?
No. Just
there was Jason Statham, I think, maybe a reboot. Yeah.
So that, and the other top build person is the man himself, the Zaganator.
Yeah.
The Google description, very short, and do you know what? I don't think I got this film.
No, I was thinking about it afterwards.
I was confused for a lot of this film.
It really leads you one way, and then it doesn't really
I think I was constantly like, I don't know.
Give us the description, and then we can have a bit of a general.
It confused me even more. 2 combat veterans must stop terrorists led by a renegade agent armed with the ultimate weapon.
Right. So that last part's not true.
What's the ultimate weapon?
Well, so
like the two combat veterans is David Carradine and Frank Zagarino.
So Frank Zagarino,
they're not terrorists as much as they kidnapping people to sell.
Yeah. Frank Zagarino he's come from he's been doing either a mission or none of them are working for any forces already. They're all private. They're all ex-military, aren't they?
Yeah.
He's come from somewhere where he's been off somewhere and he's coming back into the fray. He's got no money. And David Carradine used to be like his mentor in the army or something. I get that part. There's the thing with like the rich guy and the daughter, which is actually David Carradine's daughter.
Yeah, and he's created something.
He's made that big wig. He's made a big wig. And Frank Zagarino's wearing it. No, he's that big drone thing.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
the drone. But then he wants to get out of the business, so he blows up the drone, but then the secrets of the drone are in his brain because he knows them. That's a weird way
to put it. And
that's why they're trying to kidnap him.
They want to sell him to a foreign government.
But they don't like talk about that enough.
No, I forgot about the drone. I watched this over
I was going to say,
2 days. I watched 45 minutes yesterday and 45 minutes today.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's not really that important, I don't think.
No.
Like, it's basically Zagarino's been hired to protect this guy, and he gets kidnapped, and then him and David Carradine go to like get him back, basically. That's what I got from it anyway.
Yeah. Do you want to guess the IMDb?
I feel like I've seen it at some point, but I have no idea. I don't think it's particularly highly rated, like 5.
3.3. Low.
I don't think that's particularly fair.
No.
Maybe it is if you're an unfiltered kind of perspective.
Yeah. So before we get into it properly, what did you think? I thought this was a weird film that didn't really know what it was. I think like the characters are quite fun.
Yeah.
Zagarino's great.
Yeah.
David Carradine's quite fun, although there's twists and turns of his character that just kind of come out of nowhere.
Yeah, I
kept
thinking that he was going to turn out to be a bad guy and like be masterminding it or something.
I didn't understand lots of parts of this film. I didn't understand the relations between different groups.
No.
And it was very late in the film that I realised that some of the police were working with the bad guys.
There's the FBI guy who looks like Fraser Crane.
Yeah.
He's dressed and looks exactly like the rich guy who's the father of the girl.
Yeah, Markson.
And it's only when they're in the room together that I realised that they were, not that I realised there were 2 people, but I was like, oh, that FBI guy is the guy who was getting the blowjob earlier.
Oh yeah,
Right, so
yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It's
And like I didn't know how many henchmen there were until like it was too late into it.
Oh,
because,
yeah.
Because there's like four. Okay, so the main bad guy looks like George Michael as well.
Oh, his hair is ridiculous, and he's got one of those like leather jackets that's really tight around the waist,
it's tucked into it. This is what I mean. The outfits, right? So a lot of the time, Frank Zagarino, he's got this long hair. He's got like a red, like what do you call it, like a lumberjack plaid kind of thing, and he's got the very tight jeans where his bum's like wiggling around, and then at one point he has like this motorbike helmet on, looks really cool. Like David Carradine for a lot of it is dressed like a cowboy. And he looks a little bit fat. He's got like his leather waistcoat is never done up properly and it's kind of swinging around, but he has some cool action scenes. Like a couple of like he does a kick and you're like, oh yeah, this guy clearly at one point knew how to do martial arts.
There was certain scenes, I think it's a little bit when the Zag is like chasing people where he's clearly in like a completely different location to the people he's like,
there's a whole section for like 20 minutes where he's either riding a bike or just running around.
Yeah, there's the bit on the bike where he's chasing like the helicopter's flying low over this field and he's in a completely different field, and I'm like, wait, and I was already quite confused, and I was like, wait, where he's going? I thought he was meant to be following the helicopter.
I don't know why it was so close. No, the helicopter was chasing him.
Wait, what? I thought he was chasing the helicopter.
No,
and then there's another bit where he's sneaking up to this location where all the people are, and suddenly this guy like shoots him, and those two just run off and do their own thing, and then suddenly they're like at a river, like under a bridge, and I was like, where the hell is this? They're in the middle of nowhere.
And then he's like, where is everything? He has to ask the guy where the kidnapped people are, but that's
because he's run off.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I did like in that sense is that like once it kind of gets started and the action gets going, it kind of moves fairly quickly and it's all kind of set over like 24 hours or something like that. Do you know what I mean? And I quite enjoyed that part of it. But it is a little bit confusing. Like we say, like the amount of bad guys, like they seem to hire extra people halfway through. And like the main like henchmen are like there's a couple, they're seemingly a couple, they're always bickering, but maybe they're not a couple. And then there's like a cowboy guy that turns up at one point on a horse.
When that couple were introduced, I was like, who the fuck are these people?
And then there's the blonde guy who looks the same as Frank Zagarino, but with shorter hair. The one he fights under the bridge.
Yeah.
That's who I thought you were talking about. Because there's a bit later on where the police are after Frank Zagarino and they find that guy and then they arrest him. And I thought, I was like, is that why this guy looks like him so that they can do this? Because I've said before on the podcast, like, I fucking hate it when they have like two people in a film that look similar.
Yeah.
And they do it twice in this, obviously. But like, it just do one of their hair differently. Like, just dye one of their, like, it really annoys me.
Have you seen I think it's the original Ocean's 11 that's made by like Frank Sinatra and all his mates.
I haven't seen it. No.
And
yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah.
It's like 11 men plus what's his face?
Sammy Davis Jr.
Yeah. So obviously
he's
looks
a man
different.
as well. Even 11 white guys.
And then it's 11 white guys with like short hair, all wearing the same suit, and it's like. I recognise Frank Sinatra, and then the rest of them are just like people who look like they've turned up to a Frank Sinatra lookalike contest.
Yeah,
and it's like, how the hell have you?
It's part of the heist. They're gonna do that switch
because it's like a heist film. People are doing different things. You're like, what the hell? Who are these people?
Yeah, isn't it called like the modern day Robin Hood or something? It's like Ocean's 11 or the modern day something like that. Yeah.
So shall we get into it?
Yes.
It starts with Zagarino's driving along and there's a ridiculous song playing over the top.
I Shazammed this and it didn't come up with anything. So did you find out anything about this? I think it might be an original song.
I think it might be. Yeah. But it sounded, for ages I was like, the guy sounds, I recognise it.
Yeah.
And then what I recognised it from, there's an episode of SpongeBob where Squidward is hired to play like a Super Bowl halftime show, like with people.
Okay.
And it's all going badly. He's getting mocked. And then eventually they turn up and SpongeBob sings Sweet, Sweet Victory. And he sounds the same as this. And it's a similar sort of like song. And I was like, huh.
Maybe it's
weird.
the same guy.
Yeah,
because it came up in because it's quite a cool opening credits. It's like a truck like coming over the horizon. It's like the desert, and it's all like, and it's got this very kind of, it feels very 80s, although this is like early 90s now. It feels like super American. It's super like tough guy music, and it's like, I can't remember what any of the lyrics are, but it's like all like, it's almost like Bon Jovi style lyrics. Do you know what I mean? Very like all American kind of like, I'm living my life and I'm on the road, and like, but like in a much, you know.
So the guy's called David Glenn Isley, who did the Sweet Victory song, who hasn't done a lot. So like he might have done this.
Yeah, you'd hope it would come up somewhere.
Yeah, like that's his entire Wikipedia page.
Okay, yeah.
I searched Project Eliminator, it didn't come up with anything. So it might just be he sounds similar.
It could be, yeah. Yeah, I mean it's kind of that with SpongeBob is kind of taking the piss out of stuff like this, isn't it? So
yeah,
maybe it's a bit of a kind of stereotype thing. But yeah, there's a trucker driving along, and Zagarino is riding shotgun, and he's like hitched a ride. Yeah. He gets dropped off at a truck stop, and he goes to a payphone, and he like calls someone up, who I think is David Carradine.
Yeah, we find out he's called John Slade.
John Slade, yes. Although I've written down Zag or Zagarino for everything.
I managed to write John for.
But there's one bit where they're like, Slade is mean. One of the bad guys.
But yeah, he's getting picked up in like half an hour. So he goes into the shop. And it's really weird. Like he goes in, puts his bag down. The shopkeeper's
he starts eating a chocolate bar straight away, though. So I don't know if he picked one up.
Right, but the shopkeeper's like, "Hey, don't just go and touch things. Have you got money? You need to pay for stuff."
He does look so. He's got a bit of like a stubbly, like short goatee kind of thing going on at this point.
Yeah.
And part of this initial bit, he wants to shave, so he asks the guy if he can shave somewhere. So I think he's supposed to look a little bit more rough and like ready at this point.
Yeah.
And they make a comment later on that like he's been out in the wilderness, or he's been off the beaten tracks. Well, I've written down exactly what it is, but I'll save it for a second. Yeah, and then the guy is like, "Oh, I'm sorry." Like when he pays for the
yeah,
he's like, "Oh," and he's like, "Can I shave somewhere?" And he's like, "Oh, next door in the abandoned like whatever."
I haven't been in there in 20 years.
It's like, but the water's still running. It's like, what? And then while this is happening, a woman comes into the shop while the shopkeeper and Zagarino are out. And then also some robbers come in as well, wearing like both Nixon or President. Is it Nixon
one
and JFK?
Nixon and one like Reagan, I think.
Reagan, yeah. Which is, I think, a Point Break thing, isn't it?
So, going straight into. There was one bit of trivia for this, and we're going into it now. Which was, this was released 1 week after Point Break, and also features armed robbers disguised as ex-presidents.
Nice. Okay.
So it's not a Point Break reference; it's a coincidence. Cool. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, and so Zagarino starts shaving in the weird, dirty bathroom.
Yeah, I realized that these people with the mask in the shop, like, there's a bit where they're like confronting people. There's no way they can see through these masks because like the eye holes are like on their foreheads.
Well, there's a part later, like when the gunfight or when the other guy starts shooting, he pulls the mask off, and I'm like, oh, that's quite good actually, because a lot of things they'd keep it on just for the look of it.
Yeah,
but yeah, the shopkeeper comes back in, and the woman is being held hostage by these two guys, and they're like, "Where's the money?" And she's holding on to a pumpkin this whole time.
Yeah.
Did you notice that? Very weird.
Why not?
And then I noticed there was pumpkins everywhere. And then when they grab the guy, they put a pumpkin on his head as well.
Yeah, they do.
But yeah, they're like, "Where's the money?" And then they start going, "Maybe it's over here. Maybe it's over there." And they're like running around. And the guy's like, "There's no money."
Yeah. And then they're like, maybe it's that building next door. So they all head round there, and the Zag is like half shaven.
And they've already like shot the guy in the leg or in the arm, and they've shot like around a few times, but Zagarino's just not hurt them at all.
They head next door, and John like sees them through like behind. It's like a warehouse thing. There's just a storage room. And then this one bit, this robber, like there's like a mattress. And he like throws the woman down and like climbs on top of her, and I was like, "Is this going that way?" Fortunately, the Zag turns up and beats the shit out of the guy.
Yeah, he does a couple of good hits on him, does him a kick.
Yeah, and then the other guy starts shooting at him, but then he goes and gets him as well.
Yeah.
So he's beating them up. And then the police arrive. Oh no, has he tied them up at this point?
No, we see him tied up later,
The police turn up.
Yeah.
And like the woman comes out and they're like, "What's going on?" And then Zagarino comes out and they arrest him. The woman's like, "No, what the fuck are you doing?
Like,
He
this
just
guy-
saved us."
Yeah,
Like,
and this is
what
when
are
they
you doing?
start grilling him, and they call him the F word. They say like you're a washed up rock star that's on
Yeah.
drugs and looking for money.
And like they're pointing a gun at him, and they call him the.
And we
F
do
slur.
find out that one of them is a dirty cop.
Yeah, but at this
But
point,
still,
it's just a bit weird.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And they're like, "You're a girl," and then he beats them up, and he's like, "A very dangerous girl."
Yeah, and then he ties the police and the robbers up to like a pole.
Yeah. It reminded me of like Spider-Man, where he's just like leaves them tied up.
and then David Carradine pulls up.
Yes,
and and it's like quite a fancy car, and he's like, "Oh, okay."
And there's this young girl with him there, and he's like, "This is what's he called? The rich guy, Markson." Yeah, he's like, "This is Markson's daughter."
Do you know her name?
No,
So I've just called her daughter.
I called her daughter as well, and she's very like whatever kind of thing.
Yeah,
that's her whole persona for the first third of this. She's like questioning everything that her fake dad is doing, and just being really sassy about everything.
Yeah,
it's like she's just a rich girl in this.
Oh
yeah, wait. David Carradine says, because Zagarino kind of tries to introduce himself in the car to the daughter, and Carradine is like, "Hey, watch out for him. It's been years since he's seen a sharp-looking girl who didn't smell bad." Like, first of all, where the fuck has this guy been? Second of all, that's a weird fucking thing to say. As also considering this girl is his daughter.
Yeah,
turns out
we don't know at the time, but yeah.
And that plot doesn't go anywhere, does it?
They get up to this like site. It's like a big like hangar type thing.
Yeah, with like loads of wildernessy like desert bits around.
And there's this guy Markson who's talking about how we need to match the spending of the Russians with like military stuff.
But he's also talking about how there's loads of homelessness in America, and that if we didn't spend as much on weapons, we could help homeless people.
Yeah.
But it's really mixed messages, because then he goes on to talk about weapons again loads. It's very,
And
and this is when the girl's like, "Well, what are you gonna do about it, Daddy?" I'm like, just shut up. He's trying to do a business thing.
And he's got this drone essentially. It's a fancy high-tech drone. And there's this guy, George Michael, watching from like the bushes.
So basically, like
but he knows him because he's like, "Hey, Elias."
They're talking about the homeless problem and the fact they need to like fix the fact there's so many homeless people in America. And there's just like a camp of homeless people like around this, just to illustrate the point.
Yeah.
And this Elias guy is just like hiding amongst them, like very surreptitious.
But then he's just like, "Hi, Elias."
Yeah.
And he's just like watching, and then it's a laser drone.
Yeah.
And then it like self-destructs.
It's quite cool. It's like kind of, it almost looks like, what's the big green Thunderbirds?
Number two.
Yeah. Looks a bit like a small version of that, like very kind of almost flat, but like egg shaped.
It looks a bit like Alien.
Yeah. And it's quite cool. Like it flies around, it blows up a load of cars with lasers, like old cars. And then one of them was like, "Why are you doing it out in the open?" They're like, "We want him to see it," kind of thing. And it's like, they know this guy's watching, kind of thing. Yeah. And then he detonates it. And then I think he's like, well, the implication that we kind of find out a little bit later is that he's blowing it up because he wants to get out of the weapons business.
Yeah, why did he make it in the first place?
Why did he make it? And why did he show it off so that someone could see, and then they want, like, it doesn't really make any sense.
I've got... my notes aren't great for this.
That's right.
My next bit says, gets to some house, they're bonding.
So on the drive back, they're like, "Oh, we're all going to go to my restaurant later." Because it turns out David Carradine, who used to be like, in Vietnam, he was a Vietnam vet, like went through loads of shit. They're always talking about how he used to drink loads of whiskey. So I guess he was like a real like piece of shit. Not that drinking whiskey makes you a piece of shit, but that's the implication anyway in this. And he's like become like a restaurant owner, and he's living the good life now. But anyway, on the way to there, the Carradine is to the daughter is like, "Is Bob coming?" And it's like this whole thing about this guy Bob, who's her boyfriend, who is like a rich guy who's like up himself. And that's the introduction there. And then what was it? Yeah. Oh yeah. They go into this house and he's like, "This place was built for midgets."
I think I missed that.
And it's because they're both quite tall guys, and it's like a short, like a low ceiling.
Okay.
Don't really understand. Oh yeah, and then David Carradine goes on about how he's like, there must be an Indian burial ground underneath us because some mummified warrior is sending up good vibes to me. I'm like, what the fuck is he got? Like, they just let him chat shit.
Yeah.
And this is when he tells them that he's a restaurant owner, and then we go to George Michael running to his gang, basically.
Yeah, and he goes into this room, and there's this old guy getting a blowjob.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay. And he starts telling him about the drone and how it blew up. And this guy is like, we don't need the prototype. We just need Markson.
Yeah.
I've written here they needs to kill the cops.
Yeah, so I was just thinking partway through this conversation, like, you know, the really annoying henchman who's like a real perv who keeps like grabbing women.
Yeah.
And he's got a really annoying face. Like, partway through this conversation, George Michael was like, I don't know if we can kill Zagarino, and this guy just like jumps into the room as if he's been spying, and he's like, I could do it. And then George Michael just like punches him and throws him back out, and I'm like, why is this in this film? Like, it's so
that character is so annoying,
and he also gets like a really unsatisfying death as well.
Yeah.
So there wasn't really any that good kills in this, I wouldn't say. There's a couple of good little scraps.
There's one I like. We'll get to later on.
But yeah, they
say they're going to kidnap Markson, basically.
Yeah.
And then the main guys are. There's a guy playing the piano.
Yeah. Yeah. David Carradine plays the piano in a bit. Well, no, it goes into the restaurant and he's in the kitchen and he's just like shouting at all the people in the kitchen, like, we need to do like a good job tonight. And then he goes outside and he's like entertaining Zagarino and he's like, oh, that's Bob, that twat over on the table over there. And then everyone's like, play the piano. And he starts playing this really weird song. He plays like half the song. Wait, let's see if I wrote anything down about it. No, I didn't write. He plays like a minute of piano and singing really weirdly. And then he just starts walking around the restaurant singing like this, like la la la. I think he's supposed to be like, he's really full of himself, but he's also like quite like, everyone likes him.
A bit of a character, yeah. Bobby Vince arrives and is like a complete dick, from the start. I was just like, this guy's a knob. Meanwhile, whilst they're all kind of chatting and bonding and stuff, we see the bad guys like prepping outside. And
I think they're waiting for Markson to turn up, but he's like chronically late to his daughter's stuff, kind of thing.
Markson turns up, and then they're all like playing poker. And
he misses the meal.
Bobby thinks he's won with a really good hand.
Yeah.
And then the Zag's got an even better hand. Yeah. He's like, ha ha ha. And then they're like, oh, we're gonna have a break.
Yeah, and then Zag-Man and the daughter are just like hanging out outside in like quite a sus way, to be honest. Like neither of them are smoking. I don't think it looks like they're having like a cigarette break. Yeah, but like they're just kind of sitting, like talking quite close. And Bob just like doesn't give a fuck. He's just inside. And the whole point of that is because it means that when the kidnappers come in, that they're both outside. Yeah, and Carradine's come in to be like, hey, come back inside, you kids.
So then, so Carradine's out with it, and then the bad guys go in, they grab Markson.
Oh, you mentioned about the cops earlier, and I started talking about the guy who jumped in. They mentioned that one of the two cops who tried to arrest him at the start was on their payroll and has informed them that the Zag's in town.
Yes.
And they're like, we need to kill him. So they bring him along on the kidnapping, and then they kill him like in the alleyway. The big buff guy, the bald buff guy, like takes him and breaks his neck while they're prepping.
Right, okay.
So that was what that was.
I think I watched less of this film than I realised.
But yeah, they come in and they're like, hey, we're trying to kidnap you, Markson.
Yeah, and then some people get shot. Bobby gets shot, I was like, oh, what a shame. The Zag, Carradine, and the daughter like get away because they're outside.
It's a bit of a fight, and like a couple of people get shot. Zag-Man throws like an oil lantern at someone and they get set on fire.
Yeah, he also does loads of roundhouse kicks in this.
Yeah, it's him and Carradine are pretty good kickers in this.
Like there's always some guy pointing a gun at him, having this bit, and he just kicks out his hand.
It's the perfect like distance where you can swing that foot around.
Yeah. He sets the guy on like it's like I feel like that like explodes way more.
Yeah, it's a lot of fire. Yeah,
but the bad guys escape with Markson.
Yes, but they didn't get the daughter. They wanted the daughter as well as leverage.
Yeah, because then they can make Markson talk.
But I think because she was outside with Zag, they didn't get it. Yeah. But when they go back inside, like Carradine's just like sitting there. Like a lot of this film, he's just like super chill.
Yeah.
Like there's a bit later when he's just like sitting on the sofa. It's really funny.
He's just like, yeah, cool.
I think that's just like the actor just not giving a fuck.
Yeah. The police arrive after a bit and they're like questioning Zag and the daughter. And then an FBI guy turns up and is like really pressing.
This is the guy who looks like Frasier a little bit.
Yeah. And then they talk about how Markson's valuable to the military.
And one of the cops from the start, he's the cop that's there.
Yeah.
So his partner was the dirty cop. They find him dead. And he's like, I saw you this morning and now my partner's dead. And you've got all this cash because... Carradine gave him cash to. Oh yeah, we missed out that he got given the mission to protect Markson, but it's just like it's so brushed over. It's in that same conversation about the house being small and the Indian burial ground. It's like it's not the most interesting.
Oh, by the way, that's why here.
Yeah.
And then they're like having a go at the Zag, and then Carradine comes over and is like, "You can't charge him with a crime. Like
they say, like they're the victims."
And I was like, "You can. There's a dead cop there. Like you can at least take him in."
And I think like the driver was dead outside.
Yeah,
as well.
but the FBI guy says to the Zag, don't get involved in this. Stay out of it, otherwise we'll get you."
But right, so the FBI guy, Agent Fraser Crane, is the guy who was getting a blowjob earlier.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that. Did you know that?
No.
I only realised that like way
I got that really late.
Because it's a really weird reveal to have now.
I thought
you thought it was Markson.
No. I thought there was a big reveal at the end of the film that he was actually working with the bad guys.
Yeah, the bit in the house with the vet.
It's
guy.
only going back talking about it now. I was like, oh yeah, no, he was dirty from the start.
It gets revealed like straight away, which is like really weird decisions.
It's a good job we forgot about it, really.
Yeah, totally.
They go over to Markson's house to look for clues.
Yeah, this is really funny because they're like,
I think this is the bit from where I watched today.
Right, so it's Carradine, Zagarino, and the daughter.
I fucking love. They go in. Carradine goes straight for the fridge.
He goes to the fridge. He gets a sandwich, and this is Markson's house.
Yeah,
he gets a sandwich and a beer. Just helps himself.
But he's not drinking anymore.
He said no, but
maybe it's like a root beer.
Everyone keeps saying that, but he says he has a glass of wine every now and then, so he's not completely off. But yeah, and then while they're having this chat outside, the other two,
I've just understood this next bit. Okay, carry on.
He just chills on the sofa, and once he finishes his drink and his thing, he just like has a lie down with a gun.
Yeah,
but yeah, they
find some papers.
That's it. Yeah.
And I didn't understand this, but I guess this is the plans for the drone.
Well, they're like, these look important, so we'll burn them.
Yeah, and I was just like, okay.
And they put them in a bin and they burn them outside, and then they have a bit of a chat where they're getting a bit closer, kind of thing.
And then we get to the next scene, and it's just the Zag laying on like a sofa, topless, or like with his buttons under, and like the daughter just like cozying up to him. I was like, her boyfriend has just died, like yesterday, and her dad has just been kidnapped, and she's like, I guess she's being comforted.
Yeah,
but
I think the point is she kind of just fell asleep on him. And he's just there.
I mean, who wouldn't fall asleep on the Zag? And then the kidnappers call.
Yes, yeah. There's a hostage call, and they're like,
you need to go to the hotel.
Jackie. She's called Jackie. I wrote Jackie as Carradine. You're looking at your notes. We've got different notes.
I've got here actually. The friend is called Ron. David Carradine is called Ron.
No, he's still David Carradine. Yeah, she's called Jackie, apparently.
Yeah, I've written here, Jackie is actually Ron's daughter.
Yes.
But she while she's talking to the kidnapper, she needs to go to the hotel alone, or they'll kill him. And Ron Carradine, says, go, you need to wear something bright, like red or yellow.
And what does she come out in?
Blue, which made me laugh. But while she's going to get dressed, Carradine and Zag go outside, and he's like, she's actually my daughter, you know.
Yeah.
We decided, me and Markson, that it was better if he had the daughter. And I was like, what? What? What the fuck?
It's a really, really weird.
And then he comes out with this great line, which I wrote down, where he says, "My best friends are dead, and I'm a piece of shit." and that was, he was basically saying he's a shit guy, so he couldn't bring up a kid.
Yeah. Well, I think what happened was that he got whoever it was pregnant, and then went to war. And he said he was in a prisoner of war camp for
like
5 years.
Yeah.
So, and then when he came out, he had like PTSD and was an alcoholic. And yeah, that was the decision there. And it makes sense in terms of we see him as this uncle figure being super protective and worried about the boyfriend. So it does work out. But like, it's a wild thing to just drop in the middle.
Twist. I think it's so that he's like more attached to her for the rest of the film and stuff.
But it makes you think there's going to be this reveal, like maybe he's going to be on his deathbed and he's going to reveal it.
Yeah.
But no.
Like
he doesn't even get that fucked up in this, like a little bit, but also this is when
it gets really fucked up at the end actually.
Well, yeah, this is the bit where they have their outfits on now fully. So Zag, he's standing outside and he's got this like plaid shirt on, and it's like unbuttoned from like the bottom half, and he's got it open to see like his little muscly bit there.
You can just see like a six pack like, poking through,
and the wind's go, and Carradine comes out in his cowboy outfit, and they're having this emotional discussion with like the wind blowing over them.
But yeah, she, the daughter, Jackie, has come out in her blue top because she's colorblind.
Yeah.
And they talk about the plans. Basically, she's going to drive the truck in, and Carradine hides in the back of the truck.
That's right, yeah.
And
it turns out there's like manure in there, and then everyone just keeps saying he smells like shit for the next like 20
was it. I thought he just stank like shit. I was like, okay, that's a weird character
like
choice.
3 times after that, and then obviously once the action really kicks off, no one's talking about whether he smells like shit.
And the Zag is gonna stay behind just to see who like turns up at their house because it's Markson's house.
It's a bit of a weird plan, though. I feel like they should have all gone with,
Well, I think he wants to know,
or if anything,
who the bad guys are.
I suppose Carradine wants to look after his daughter, but it should be the other way around, really, because the Zag is more, action heavy.
Yeah. But a policeman turns up at the house.
So this is the same one. So he's obviously on a mission to
get Zag.
Avenge, like Avengers, to avenge his partner who doesn't realize
it's really funny. Like he goes into the house, he stands like by the front door and looks around, and then he like goes outside.
He like runs back outside and gets his radio,
and he's like, the house is empty, but I saw something interesting. It's like, you didn't even fucking look around. You didn't take 2 steps in there.
I don't understand. He runs out, and as if it's going to be some big reveal, like he saw, I don't know, something on the floor. He saw something through the house in the garden. He saw that there was a burning load of documents in a bin.
Yeah.
That probably wouldn't have even been on fire anymore because they all went to sleep.
He just saw a bin outside.
He saw a bin and went, so... and also, I think he's talking to the FBI guy, right?
Yes. Yeah. And
Agent
as he hangs up, the Zag sneaks up to him and holds like a knife to his neck.
Yeah.
At this time, I forgot that this was the dirty cop, and I thought it was just...
No, this isn't the dirty cop. One's dirty and one's not.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize this was the cop we knew. I thought it was just a random cop, and I was like, all right, calm down, Zach.
It's the same one who's been harassing him, who maybe called him a slur earlier.
Yeah, okay. But he holds a knife to the front, and he's like, who did you call?
Yeah.
Does he tell him?
I think he's like, yeah, it was the FBI.
And then he knocks him out.
And he like bashes him on the wall there.
Yeah. And then we get this bit threw me out because I think I paused it at this bit because Christina got home and chatting about her days at work or whatever.
And you go back to this weird scene in the car.
And it's this like really weird guy, and he's grinning and he's staring directly at the camera.
It's filmed like when people do like a TikTok now, and they'll do like POV from each, and they're switching between POV and a car or whatever.
And it's that, and it's this couple. And he's just grinning.
And he's polishing his gun. And she says something like, do you want everyone to see your gun? And he's like, I want everyone to see my gun. And he's like polishing this big revolver.
He's fucking insane.
He's got a really fucking weird face.
Yeah, and because he's meant to be looking at her, but she's just...
They're both almost looking slightly like off-center of each other kind of thing.
But anyway, then I found out that they're the kidnappers. I was like,
So
I thought it was just some random couple.
They're the two main henchmen.
Yeah.
Or hench people.
And they she says that she spotted the daughter Jackie. So they go into this hotel, and there's like a back room with all these women like in like skimpy outfits because they're doing a show.
Yeah,
and he just goes and starts grabbing them.
He grabs some flowers and he's like, "Hey, honey,"
and he's like grabbing this woman and like groping her. And I was like, "What the fuck?"
It's really. I think it was the plan to get a cop who's there for some reason.
Yeah,
to come in, and then the big buff guy then kills the cop, but we don't really get that explained to us.
The police this is the kill I like, actually. So the police grab the creep and like take him out,
and he's letting him go. He's like, oh,
yeah,
okay,
and then when they get outside, he's like, I've got a gun, and the police like turns him around like, what? Little does he know, the big buff guy standing behind him puts like a string around his neck and like gets him. And I was like, that was quite cool. The big buff guy is intense in this. I think he's my favorite one of the villains.
He's the best one because he kind of fills that role of like Jaws or like an Odd Job in a
like,
he's
doesn't really say much.
He's very distinctly looking from everyone else is white in this film. He's like the only black person in this film. He's got like a big kind of classic mustache. I think he's got.
Yes, he does.
And he's bald. And he is
wearing like a
so muscly.
He's wearing like a vest, and his arm is like the size of somebody's head.
When he's leaning over like in the stable later on, and he's leaning on the bars, and his arms are tensed a bit, and like the two of his arms together are like so fucking wide. Honestly. Yeah. He's got a very, very good look for this. This film is full of very muscular men. Isn't it?
Then Carradine gets out the truck. The daughter's gone into the hotel at this point. Which...
This is when he tries to go past like a couple of like rich people, and he's like, "What? You don't like how I smell?" And then he's like, "Oh, I smell like shit."
Yeah, I missed all this. And then the buff guy and the smug guy take the dead cop and put him in a hot tub outside.
I didn't know if it was a different one because he's got a bullet hole in his head. So I don't know.
I thought it was just blood from where he'd been hit or something.
Maybe it's that. But yeah, they put him in a hot tub.
And he just looks like he's just chilling.
And then we find out that it was a swimwear spectacular, whatever that means.
Oh, that was the event.
Yeah, not this guy. There's some sort of fashion show going on to try and sell bikinis and swimwear and stuff. And these models all start coming out, and David Carradine walks in and then immediately gets spotted by the big buff guy. And he comes up to him and he's like, "What are you doing here?" And he's like, "Oh, I want to sell secrets. Like I'm with you guys."
Yeah, because the plan was, even though the doors went to go alone, the Zag's like, you need to get caught as well. Figure out a way to do that.
Oh, I completely
because I thought they wanted an inside
I was like, this
man.
is a really, really bad plan. Like he just walks
so he intentionally, but without making them know that it was intentional.
Right,
sort of
thing. I see. Okay, because then this bit doesn't make any sense. I thought it was all going to be set in this bit here. But then...
So they've grabbed the daughter and put her in the back of their truck.
And then some other guy who is another cop just spots them. Yes. And then immediately the big guy just starts shooting people.
Yeah, he's taking... This was hilarious. He's taking Carradine out and he stops dramatically. Yeah. It's like, do you remember that old like hamster on YouTube that's like, turned around. And it looked like that. And he turns around and sees this cop. And... and he pulls up this gun, and this cop is standing there like waving his arms like, whoa, and this goes on for like 20 seconds. He's just like, whoa, and then the buff guy just shoots him like loads of times.
I thought this was going to be like a guy.
Why is he not escaping? Why is he
I thought he was going to be like a character because he looks a bit like someone. He looks like fucking what's the guy who plays Bishop in Aliens. Do you know the guy I mean?
Yes.
He looks a bit like this guy.
Yes.
And I was like, I'm pretty sure I would have seen if this guy was in this film. And then I was like, oh, he's going to be a cop that's on there. And then like 5 minutes later, after he stops going, whoa, he gets shot. And his chest just like fucking explodes. Yeah. And then, then this buff guy just starts shooting randomly into the crowd. Yeah. Like, why are you making a scene here? Just go.
So wild. And he takes Carradine out. And the Zag turns up, and everyone's like around this cop, like, what?
Oh no, Bishop from Aliens is dead.
Carradine's been put in the car as well. This bit's funny because, like, the buff guy and the couple are just standing outside the truck, like, having a conversation, whilst Carradine and the daughter are just in the truck, presumably, and it's like nobody's keeping an eye on them. They're not tied up. They're just. What are they doing? I want to know. Are they chatting? Are they in the car?
He's like, by the way, I'm your dad.
Yeah, well, what's going on in there?
Yeah.
But then a helicopter, which is nearby, that the couple have been talking to.
Yeah,
the FBI,
and the FBI
guy.
Fraser Crane's in the chopper.
Yeah, and he flies off, and then the Zag
this is
comes
the bit
out
we were talking about, isn't
and
it?
sees the helicopter.
Yeah,
and he arrived in a car.
Yeah.
And then he's looking at these bikes and picks a bike and just steals the bike.
It's literally this film. I've just realised it feels like Grand Theft Auto. Like it feels like something from Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
Like it feels like it could be
killing.
like Vice City or something like that. Like the killing, the fact that there's suddenly the cops. If the cops get called, 50 cops turn up at once
and start shooting,
and they're there straight away. You can just get any vehicle you want. They've all got the keys in it. Everyone's wearing like very distinct character outfits.
Yeah. So I say. And then the FBI guy puts out like what's the
all points bulletin.
A what?
All points bulletin.
What's that?
That's what they call it.
Okay, cool. And basically saying the Zag is wanted for kidnapping, extortion, and murder.
Yes.
Go get him.
But this is so
this bit
This is what I was confused. This is what we're
Yeah, I thought he was chasing the helicopter on his bike.
I think the helicopter was chasing him. But that doesn't make any sense, does it? Maybe he was chasing the helicopter.
I don't know.
But why was the helicopter going so low then? Because it was going so low.
It was
like, almost as low as the ground.
Yeah.
I was going to say almost as low as the bike, but yeah. Almost as low as the ground. Because I thought it was like, like in like Mission Impossible and stuff where the helicopter's like going right next to them and they're like, oh.
See, I think the Zag's following him to see where they go.
But he doesn't do it very good.
Because then they just go to this house in the middle of nowhere.
I got confused. I thought when the all points bulletin or whatever goes out, I thought that police helicopter turned up and was like, there he is, and started chasing him. But if FBI agent Fraser Crane is already in there, then it doesn't make sense for them to chase him. And also, they want to get away from him.
Yeah, they're going to this house, so I think he's following.
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
And this bit
but obviously
goes on
it wasn't
for a while.
very well kind of edited and structured there.
Yeah, this goes on for a while with various different shots.
So he must have lost. So the Zag must have lost them, but got close enough that he can kind of figure out where they are.
Yeah, I think so.
But then equally, he is driving around for ages.
Yeah. They get to this house and the FBI guy, they've got Markson like tied up.
Yeah.
And it's George Michael.
Yes.
And he's like
everyone's there apart from the Zag at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
the daughter's in another room, but
they haven't turned up yet at this point. They're still the van's still driving.
Oh, yes.
But he's saying like that drug better work. They want to
I was
knock
so
Markson
confused.
out.
Before they say what the drug's for, I thought it was going to be like
Project Truth Serum
or Project Kill. It's like
oh, okay.
There's like a fucking like super juice in this.
Yeah,
Captain America serum.
There's a great line here.
Yeah, very funny. So the guy who's injecting has like he looks like an old biker, doesn't he?
Yeah, and the
George
FBI
Michael.
guy says to George Michael, like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
Where'd you get him from?
Oh, it's the other way around.
Oh, yeah,
George Michael's really pissed off.
And this guy's like, oh, I'm a vet. And he was like...
He's like, Korea?
Korea? Vietnam? And he's like, no, I'm a veterinarian.
He says, I'm a horse doctor.
I was like, that's a fun play of words with
good.
Then the van arrives with Carradine and the daughter.
This is when I realised that the FBI agent Fraser Crane was the blowjob guy. Because
I forgot about the blowjob, to be honest.
I didn't forget about that. I watched it all in one go, so that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Zag is...
I watched the first half like 3 days ago, actually.
Oh, yeah.
I've had a busy week.
I had a bit of a pause in the middle, but the Zag is still riding around on the motorbike at this point.
Yeah.
He looks pretty cool. But
the vet injects Markson and like knocks him out. And then, everyone's in the house and Carradine starts calling George Michael like crazy. And, like, you're crazy. You made a crazy deal because they know each other.
Yeah, so...
And then
George Michael was in the same like unit or whatever. No, George Michael trained the Zag but I think Carradine trained George Michael. But they all know each other.
Yeah. And then the girl from the couple who's called Vanna.
Yes, she's chatting alone.
She start being really
she comes
annoying.
in and someone's like, "Why are you late?" And she was like, "Oh, I had to get this goldfish."
Yeah.
Okay.
And she's been really annoying. And then George Michael kind of has enough of her.
Yeah.
And like gets a gun and like marches her outside.
Yeah.
And you think she's just gonna and then he just like shoots her.
Shoots the shit out of her.
And it was like, okay, and I was like, to be fair, she was really annoying. I was glad she's dead.
I mean, I would have rather the pervy guy die, to be honest. But,
yeah. And then the buff guy takes Carradine out to talk to him, find out what he knows.
Yeah, and he's like, everyone keeps being like, "Oh, I heard you gave up drinking," and he's like, "Get him a whiskey now."
Yeah,
I guess he's hoping to like.
And he drinks it.
He does drink it. I mean, he's probably gonna die. So
yeah, the Zag arrives. He's finally stopped driving, and he's kind of sneaking up. And then another guy like spots him.
This is the guy who looks like his evil twin. He's like the blonde guy with slightly shorter hair.
And they start shooting each other. This bit goes on for ages. And the shorter haired guy like runs off. This bit's funny.
Yeah.
The Zag's like running after him, and this guy's like, "I've got a plan," and he throws like a grenade behind him.
Yeah.
And the Zag just like runs past it. It goes off, and he just carries on running.
It goes off so close behind him,
and
that
he doesn't even care.
And they do joke later on, like, "Oh, you never get a scratch on you," but it's like he literally doesn't. Like,
yeah. And then we cut to Carradine in the barn, and he kicks the big guy in the face.
The big guy takes him out there, and he's like, "Oh, I want to know, like, show me what you got." Because he's like, "You're old, I'm like big and buff. I can beat you up like 1-on-1." And the first thing he does is this big roundhouse kick that actually fucking knocks this guy.
And then whilst he's doing that, he like takes his jacket and hat off and like hangs them up. And this guy's like spitting out blood and stuff.
Yeah. But then the big guy just beats the absolute shit out of him.
Yeah. And like he's got him pinned, and then he grabs him and starts putting his head in water.
Yeah, like dunk him in a trough thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the music in this, it's like, I don't know if it's like pan flute or if it's like a weird organ, but it's like
yeah,
they do a lot of that same.
And with like Carradine almost knocked out, the big guy goes to the door, and George Michael like signals. He puts like his finger across his throat.
Does like kill him.
Yeah. And then all the people. This bit was a wild twist. All the people pile into hearses.
Yeah,
and like the daughter and Markson are knocked out with this injection, laying in the back of the hearse.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's an interesting choice.
It makes sense, I suppose. You can transport someone in the back and they can be lying down.
Yeah, what was it? I was watching something where characters buy a hearse. Oh, it's Ghostbusters.
Oh, did you watch the new one?
No. I watched the original Ghostbusters on Halloween last year. I've just remembered that the Ghostbusters car is a hearse that they paint.
Yeah.
Don't know why that's.
I couldn't. I don't think I thought of that ever. It's just a big car.
But I feel like you see them buy it.
I haven't really watched that film very much. So.
But anyway, the
Zag has a fight under the bridge.
Yeah, he's chasing this guy by the river, and he kind of disappears, and he's under this bridge, and the guy drops down on him.
Yeah.
Oh no, when he's chasing him, he drops another grenade, and the Zag's fine. And they punch under the bridge, and then he's like pinned down, and there's a gun in front of them, and the other guy like goes to grab the gun, and the Zag kind of overpowers him. And as he's laid on top of him, like shoots him.
Yeah, like but through it's like shoulder
like,
kind
through
of
the
thing.
shoulder.
Yeah,
and he's like, "Where are they taking Markson?" And he's like, "Oh, they're taking him to the airport because they're gonna fly him to some foreign country."
And I think at that point, they say, he's gonna sell him to the highest bidder or whatever. And we're like, okay, we kind of know what the plan is now a little bit. But that's the only explanation we get of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Just this one.
We get back to the barn, and Carradine's being like put in a noose and like questioned.
Yeah.
And the big guy like punches him a few times.
But then he manages to get out of the noose quite easily.
Taken out of the noose by the big guy.
So he can beat him up a bit more. Yeah. Or something.
And then Carradine's asked him, like, "Oh, you got any weapons around here? A knife, a gun, or anything?" And the guy doesn't answer.
Yeah.
And then he beats him down, and then Carradine like jumps on him.
Yeah.
And reaches round, grabs a knife from his back pocket, and stabs him.
Yeah.
And then as he drops, and then breaks his neck.
Yeah. That was pretty cool. That was the one I was thinking of as like.
Yeah. And then he really casually like walks out like with his hat and jacket, and just kind of like walks out the front. And I was like, he doesn't know that everyone's left.
Yeah, yeah.
Carradine walks out this bar like, yeah.
But I think as he starts walking, he's a bit like, oh, I'm actually a bit old, kind of thing.
Yeah. And then
the
Zag meets up with Carradine.
Well, he just
with the guy who he's shot.
Yes, he's got him with him still.
And they put him in the back of the car and they're driving.
Well, no, before
they get in another car.
Well, the vet's trying to leave.
Oh,
and then they throw the Zag throws a grenade and blows the vet up.
Yeah, they throw it like
and
under
then this
car.
is when like a random guy on a horse turns up and tries to lasso the Zag.
And he puts the lasso like round his gun.
And then he uses the gun to pull him off.
I was like, that's and then just like one punch kills him. I was like, okay, that was random.
I don't know if this is a guy we're supposed to have known about. Like, he's just a guy on a horse who just starts riding up to them.
But they drive off, and this bit was hilarious. So it's got the Zag and Carradine in the front of the car, and the guy kind of wakes up,
and you're like, oh, what's gonna happen?
And he kind of says something, and Carradine just elbows behind him and knocks him out. And I was like,
and just like carries on.
That was great.
I think Carradine's like, oh, they're gonna recognize this car because they're trying to catch up with the convoy, which I guess the convoy is supposed to look like a hearse procession.
Yeah, so they're not like speeding up.
Yeah.
And they're like, we need to switch car. Yeah. Fortunately, on the side of the road, there's a car that's got like a for sale sign on the front. So they pull over, jump out their car, get in that car, and then Freddie Mercury runs out of the house and starts yelling at them. It's a man with a white vest and a big black moustache.
Yeah,
and short black hair. When you see him a bit close, it's not. But when first I was like, holy fuck, Freddie Mercury.
Yeah.
They'd stop.
But they're talking to him.
And they're like, take ours, it's far better than like this piece of shit. And I don't understand why that's not okay for Freddie.
Well, the guy's just like, Freddie just runs inside and gets on the phone. But I quite like this because he's talking to the police and we're seeing like the guys getting away at the same time.
Yeah.
And he describes, this is what he mean. He just describes the Zag. He doesn't describe the other guy. And then later on, they're looking for a tall, muscly, blonde guy.
Right.
And they arrest the other guy who got shot in the shoulder. So that's the only thing I'm thinking of why they might have looked similar.
Yeah.
But he's like, what does he say? He's like, they had guns and knives, just like out of a Rambo film, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Like, I like this guy. He's quite funny.
The car was the Carradine and the Zagarino. They overtake the procession.
Yeah.
And the Zag like ducks down so they don't spot him.
Yeah.
But Carradine's just driving and they've just all seen Carradine.
Yeah, he kind of looks away a little bit like la 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 la.
Yeah, and I was like,
but I think because they kind of casually overtakes rather than like
I guess.
And I guess they're supposed to be getting because they know where they're going because the hostage told them.
Yeah.
They're trying to get ahead of them. And this bit was quite cool when the police that have been called by Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, they start speeding up and the people in the hearse are like, act naturally. And the police, George Michael's just like shitting himself a bit.
Yeah.
And then the police overtake the procession because they're chasing the Zag and Carradine.
Yeah.
They pull up to this airport and like get out of the car and they kind of run off and leave this other guy
sitting outside.
Yeah,
and it's almost like he's a bit of a, decoy kind of thing.
And the police, and do you know what? At first I was like, oh no, the police are following them. But it works out really well for them that the police are following because it means there's loads of like legit police doing their job suddenly at this location. And the FBI guy, helicopter lands, he's like, what the hell are these guys doing here? Like,
yeah, I think he radios them and is like, what's happening? Or he talks to the police.
And the procession like pulls up and they're kind of hanging back a bit because they're like, why the hell are the police here? And the FBI guy is called Willis. I just found out.
he goes in and he's trying to get like a flight schedule or whatever from the guy who owns the airport. What would you call it? Like records or like authority to take off, basically. But he's like being really mean to this guy. He's just like, get in your office. And I went in your office and you weren't there. And he's like, oh yeah, I was just fixing my. He's like, I need it now. Just go.
In this guy's office is a Coca-Cola vending machine, and I'm like, oh. Maybe. Why? What? I
guess if someone wants to get a private flight and they want a fresh bottle of Coke.
Why has he got it in his office though?
Well, not just a
does
fridge.
Does he really like Coke? But then
He
why is he
pays for it.
paying?
He likes the novelty of
Does
paying.
some guy just come fill it up? Why doesn't he just buy a case?
Or just a big Coke fridge.
But the police find the guy that the Zags left behind, and they're like, "Oh, this must be the guy," and arrest him.
But it doesn't really help because they don't then leave.
No,
because then almost immediately after there's like explosions and
well,
stuff.
then there's the Zag sees the smug guy, and just shoots him, and then there's a big explosion.
There's a little bit, the George Michael and the pervy smug guy are like in there, and it's like George Michael's like, flank me, and the other guy's like, all right. He does like a really weird little squeak because he's a little rat guy. Yeah, and there's a bit of like quite a boring firefight, to be honest.
Yeah.
And then there's a bit where like there's a really long bit where George Michael like motions to the guy, the pervy, to give him like a magazine of ammo, and he like sorts it out, and it like takes ages, and then the pervy guy like gets up and sneaks along. Yeah, and then the Zag-Man just sees him and just shoots him.
just shoots him.
Like, okay.
And then there's a big explosion there. I don't really know how.
No,
happened.
I don't know.
But that gets the attention of like the other people.
Yeah.
Like
whoever else?
Yeah.
I don't know who else is going on.
Everyone in this film, I think it's this bit before the shootout with the smug guy and George Michael. Everyone in this film is really bad at shooting.
Yeah.
Like the George Michael can see the Zag like 10 yards away.
There's like a big gap that we can see through this, like,
and they're just shooting and they're just constantly missing. And I was like,
it's not,
They hired the wrong guys for this. I
mean, they are all the dropouts of the army, aren't they?
Yeah. FBI Bruce Willis shoots Carradine in the knee.
Yeah, so Carradine busts into the office and the airport guy is like, just starts running around. Yeah, and then in that distraction, Bruce Willis pulls out his gun.
It's FBI agent
Fraser
Bruce Willis Crane.
Yeah. He pulls out his gun. He gets the first shot off, blows Carradine's knee off.
Yeah.
And as he's falling, he unloads his fucking gun. And Bruce Willis
absolutely
is fucking
kills John McClane.
It's so confusing for people.
What's confusing about FBI agent
John Willis McClane Fraser Booth? John Wilkes Booth.
John Wilkes Booth, sure.
Okay. But yeah, this guy gets like perforated with bullets. Yeah. And he's down. He's definitely dead.
And he's like, John Wilkes Booth, that's what you get for killing Abraham Lincoln.
I know what he actually says is, I hate crooked cops.
Yeah, he does. This is great. And then George Michael and the Zag fight.
Yeah, they have a thing where both their guns go around the corner at the same time, and they both knock the guns out, and they have a big fight outside. They're both wearing tight black tops and very tight blue jeans.
Yeah, they're just kind of fist fighting, and then the Zag gets one really good punch in and just kills George Michael.
Blood is just coming out of his mouth.
And I was like, that's just one really
there
big
were
punch.
some pretty good kicks early on. There's one kick which is very, very bad, where the Zag-Man's doing like a very weak fake kick, and they didn't really edit it very well, and it looks like he just extends his leg out, and the other guy goes, "Oh." But you know, one bad kick in a bunch.
This bit is really weird. So like he punches George Michael dead, and we're like, cool, and then like
suddenly it's the ambulance,
and suddenly Markson and the daughter are in an ambulance,
and there's two paramedics like looking after them.
And Zag just strolls over and comforts the daughter, and I was like, oh, has this all been resolved?
And they just go,
I was like, wait, George Michael's dead, the smug guy's dead, Detective Bruce Wilkes Booth is dead.
Crane.
So I was like, oh yeah, I guess
they basically
all the bad guys are dead.
They go like, Markson's gonna be fine. Daughter, are you fine? Yes, my name's Jackie, I'm fine. Yeah, and then they go to Carradine and they're like, are you okay? And he looks down at his knee and it's like his leg is fucked.
Like it's just like somebody's put his knee on like a crush thing.
And he's like, my kneecap's shattered, and now my good knee is my bad knee.
Yeah,
no, the other way around.
And this line's great where
Zagarino.
Zag's like, want to compare wounds, and then just wipes the smallest bit of blood off his lip, and he's like, that's all I got.
And he's like, you always were bulletproof.
And he gives like a thumbs up.
And then there's a weird like a freeze frame of him and Jackie, and then this music starts playing and it cuts to like a weird shot of this bedroom, like living room.
Yeah.
And it's like it's panning around the house they were in earlier.
Yeah, Marks
and then
themselves.
this synthy music's playing, and then Zag and the daughter just start like making out.
And then it's credits. I really enjoy the fact that like the Zag gets like no damage. I think it's quite fun
because it almost is like, well, it's we've done some John Wickles stuff recently, and we talked on that about how there's two types of action heroes. There's this type, and there's the type that get fucked up.
Yeah,
and he's so like transparently
I think
like,
the fact that they
almost like a Terminator.
Yeah, I think the fact that they reference it as well at the end, where he's like, "Want to see my damage?" It's like, no, he's just fucking cool.
Yeah.
I think the Zag just makes any character cool because he's Frank Zagarino.
He has got a very natural coolness to him,
yeah. That's the end of the film. I said my one bit of trivia, but what did you think of Project Eliminator?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like necessarily good.
No, it was weird.
It didn't quite have the charm of some of like.
But I did enjoy it.
I don't think it quite had as many kind of funny moments as like Shadow Chaser 2.
No.
And the action was kind of lacking, I would say.
Yeah, there was
some moments throughout.
Yeah, but
I mean, last week we watched Project Legion.
Unfortunately,
and this is so much better than
this.
That.
This is a low budget, not a great film, but it was a fun watch.
I wonder how the budgets compare, because I would imagine that there's not masses of differences between.
No, I mean there's a lot more locations in this.
Yeah, there is a lot more. So maybe Legion was a lot cheaper.
Yeah,
but like it. The most recent film I think I've probably watched something in between, but like out of the two things, like this is so much better.
Yeah.
But if you look at it compared to like, you know, something good that I've watched, like, you know, out of the podcast, it's not a great film. But I think the leads are charming enough, and there's enough kind of like
I also
novelty to it.
We love the Zag, so I think I enjoy it more because it's just like the Zag's in it.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I don't know where I would rate it really.
No, like it wasn't great, but it was entertaining enough.
Yeah, I think I'd probably go for like a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I was
like that's probably a bit too good for it. Really,
6.
I think 6 is probably. I'll go with a 7.
I'll go with 6 because it's hard to judge because we just watched Legion, which I think I gave a 1.
Yeah, we both gave it a 1. We tried to give it a 0, but the system wouldn't allow.
Yeah, the system wouldn't allow that input. It came back as an error.
Yeah,
so we gave it a 1. But yeah, I think like a 6.
If this was a series, I would watch the next one.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think the plot and the stakes could have been really tightened up.
Everything could have been cleared up. Like,
everything could have been cleared
up. No idea.
But it had it had this really weird vibe that it felt way older. It felt like almost, in a way, it felt like a 70s film. In a way, it felt like an 80s film. It didn't feel like a 1991 film at all.
No,
which is quite nice in a way, but I think some of that is intentional.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think some of it is, a lot of it's like harking back to some
to like great, a David Carradine 70s thing.
Yeah, or like the 80s action heroes like Schwarzenegger, Stallone type characters.
Yeah, I mean they mention Rocky,
Rambo.
Yes. It's just like that Rocky film where he has all those guns.
But yeah, it was fun, and I enjoyed it.
Considering,
it was interesting seeing Zagarino in something else,
and it wasn't drastically different in that he didn't have to do a lot of dialogue.
But he was playing a human character, whereas he's an android in Shadow Chase. I think
he was still noticeably,
I think I prefer him in Shadow Chaser because I think he's really good at playing the like unhinged android. Yeah, and really,
especially in like
revving
2,
that up.
Yeah.
Whereas in this, he's more of like a generic character.
Yeah.
I think the looks better in this.
Definitely, yeah.
But it was interesting seeing him, and when we get the Zag project going, it'll be good to see him in various. I imagine he pretty much only does action films, doesn't he? Yeah. But different scenarios, different types of characters will be quite interesting.
Yeah, definitely. It'd be nice to see him in a bad guy role that isn't a robot bad guy.
Yeah, just
maybe
like an
a bit more
actual
crazy, even
evil villain.
Maybe something post Shadow Chaser 2 when he's like he leans into that side of it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Maybe, that would be fun.
Yeah, maybe that North Korean one. I don't know if he plays a villain in that, but
hopefully he's not playing a Korean. In that.
yeah. But yeah, I guess that I don't really have anything else
to say
about this.
But it was good fun though.
Yeah,
good fun.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Which leads us on to our next segment,
Personal
projects.
And this time, it's personal.
Projects?
So, Sam, what have you been watching, reading, playing, listening?
What you doing?
Or anything else?
I watched Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio.
You said that in a really weird way. I got distracted by the weird pronunciation of Guillermo del Toro.
Oh, not Pinocchio.
And then the Pinocchio really threw me off.
Pinocchio.
Yeah, what do you think?
It was good. It was really weird.
It is really weird. The animation style is great.
Yeah, very, very good. I thought I didn't expect it to spend so long on the sad origin story at the start.
Yeah, right.
Very, very sad. I think may have watched it a bit hungover, so
got a bit emotional.
A little bit, yeah. Didn't expect there to be so much fascist stuff in it.
Yeah, and then Mussolini turns
Mussolini's in it. Yeah. It's the angel, the blue fairy,
cool,
very cool. And the whole afterlife thing with the death and the hourglass and every time you come back and all that. I thought that was very cool.
Yeah.
Very, very kind of heavy content for, I guess it's not really a children's film, is it? Maybe an older children's film, family film. Instead of going to the island of Lost Boys or whatever, they go to like a war camp.
Yeah.
Wild. Yeah. No, I really enjoyed it. So the only thing I didn't really like, there was like 3 songs in it and they weren't really like very good songs.
Yeah.
It was a bit like I would have rather just not have one thing I liked. So Sebastian J. Cricket was very good. Ewan McGregor,
yeah.
And I really like the joke where he keeps trying to do his song and he keeps getting interrupted and then he gets to do it like in the credits.
Yeah.
I did like that, but I thought the songs were probably unnecessary for it.
Yeah,
but that's probably my only real criticism. It's I really enjoyed it. I think it could win Best Animated Picture.
Yeah.
I think it's I've seen a couple of others, and I know we'll probably talk about it leading up to the Oscars, which is the next couple of weeks, isn't it?
Yes, it's in 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah, so maybe we'll do a bit of a.
I am actually planning on watching it all. One of my friends is doing like a little Oscars
party. Oh, nice!
Party,
Yeah, no, I've never done that.
I've taken the Monday off work because it finishes at like 5 a.m. here.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So
cool.
I mean, it drags on.
But
it's fun. You have a couple of drinks and
yeah.
I remember watching it years ago, and my old flatmate got really emotional when Leonardo DiCaprio won his Oscar. She was like, "Oh, go Leo!" And I was like, "Yeah, I get it," because there was the whole thing leading up to that. Being like, he hasn't won one. I was like, I don't think he deserved it for The Revenant. he deserves an Oscar.
That's
but maybe
one of
not
the ones
for The Revenant.
I
think Tom Hardy and Will Poulter are better in that film than
probably.
Than DiCaprio.
He does a lot of whimpering and crawling in that film.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I did like it. In terms of Best Animated, I have seen a fair few of them. I will probably try and cap those off, and I'll try and watch a couple more Best Picture as well. But I also watched a little bit of Prehistoric Planet.
Oh yeah,
Watched the first 2 episodes.
Attenborough.
David's Dinosaurs, we've started calling it.
David's Dinosaurs. Yep, nice.
Very good. First episode I thought was okay.
What was the first one?
The sea one, the coasts.
Oh yeah,
it was pretty good. Then the second one's deserts, and the thing that stood out to me, there was 2. There was the titanosaurs, and they've got the weird like sacks on their necks that like inflate.
Yeah,
that was absolutely wild. I was kind of a bit like, is that something they've just like hypothesized? Probably, but like looked disgusting, and I really like that.
Yeah,
and the weird little thing that looked like an owl mixed with like a lizard fox. I can't remember what it was called, but it was before they have the velociraptors in it. Or maybe after. It's a similar little weird crawling thing, and its face has like a barn owl kind of pattern on it.
Yeah.
But
it looks really good.
Looks great, yeah. Really, really fun. And yeah, I will carry on with that. But yeah.
Nice.
And I also watched. Do you know much of Jamie Demetriou? Have you watched Stathlet's Flats? No. So he's a kind of up and coming British comedy writer. He's Fleabag. The guy who has like the big teeth and he's like the joke boyfriend.
Yes,
that guy.
Yeah.
He's got a comedy special. It's called a comedy special, but it's like a series of sketches that's like 45 minutes.
Right.
And it's called A Whole Lifetime with Jamie Demetriou, and it just came out on Netflix yesterday as time of recording.
Cool.
And it's quite fun. There's some really fun sketches in it. It's a little bit like Monty Python Life or whatever it's called.
Life of Brian.
No, the other one that's like Meaning of Life.
Meaning of Life.
It's a little bit like that. It goes through like the stages of life and it's different sketches.
I feel like we don't get many sketch shows anymore.
No. I would have preferred that if he'd done like a long, like mini sketches throughout a series, because there's some that I really enjoyed and some that fell a little bit flat. And I would have preferred if they were in like 15-minute things that you could go back and watch kind of thing. There's a couple of little musical numbers in it. Like it's a fun little watch, very kind of absurdist, kind of surreal comedy. And it's on Netflix, so I would recommend that.
I might look into that.
And there is one other thing that we've both watched, but what other bits have you seen?
I've also been watching Netflix. As I mentioned, a friend of ours came around to mine the other day and he was like, I wanna put on this show. Watched the first episode and I've since watched more episodes, which was Arcane. League of Legends.
I spoke about it about 6 months ago.
You can imagine why my friend.
Yeah, he absolutely loves it.
League of Legends. It's really good and it's
surprising. Isn't
I think the League of Legends thing kind of throws people off because it's not League of Legends.
Yeah, it's barely.
But I think I'm like 5 or 6 episodes in
because they're in like 3-episode story arc kind of things almost, aren't they?
I wasn't expecting like a time jump a few episodes in.
Is it the end of episode when it does the time jump? It's like incredibly emotional bit where like everything's gone to shit. Like 3 characters like die,
and she's just laying into
and
her
she's just
sister,
like tearing up, and like the bad guys have like won, and it's just like what the fuck is going on?
And then the reveal that the sister's then working for one of the bad guys. I was like, this is actually really good. I think I've got like two or 3 episodes left. So I'm planning on finishing that soon. But I'm like, it
looks really good as well.
Yeah, the animation style is really good, but also like the design, like the colors and stuff. Yeah,
it's got that kind of Spider-Verse-y, like stylistic kind of,
and there's cool like world building without shoving it down your throat. There's cool stuff in this universe. And I was like, nice. Apparently season 2 comes out soon, at some point later this year or something. I was speaking to
our friend about it, a couple of months ago, and he mentioned that as well. No, it was a real surprise for me because it came out in the 3 parts over a couple of months, and it built up a lot of hype over it. And I'd heard a lot, and the same as you, I'd kind of gone, League of Legends, like whatever. And then I just stuck it on at one point, and I burned through it in like a couple of days. It's really impressive.
It's really good. I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
Really good action. Like it's nicely choreographed. Like it's animated, but you can see what's going on very clearly, and it's very clearly well thought out. And it has that kind of adult emotional element that you kind of maybe don't expect from like the opening scenes. Very kind of they're like. It's like Aladdin. They're like running across the rooftops, like they're thieves, and then it kind of quite quickly gets a bit
quite
darker,
serious. And you're like, cool. But so I'll probably let you know when I finish that.
Nice.
But today at time recording came out The Mandalorian,
the Star Wars show.
Episode 1. What did you think of it?
I liked it. I thought it was a little bit disjointed overall, as in like there's a first bit, then there's the main bit, and then there's a weird little bit at the end. But I liked it. I thought like compared to like Book of Boba Fett, I didn't love all of it, and I thought this feels more kind of what I want from a Star Wars show. It's very, very different to Andor, the last Star Wars show. But like there was some great moments. Like that opening felt very like the opening of season 2 with the crate dragon, where there's like a big fucking monster turns up.
Yeah. And at first I thought he was the kid.
Yeah, me too. I think that's what you're supposed to think.
I was like, that's cool. And then he turns up. You're like, oh wait, no, he's not.
The thing that kind of I've seen people kind of criticizing online at this point, everyone's like, you don't need to be in this cult anymore. Like, stop pursuing this thing.
Yeah.
And the armorer's like, oh, we can't have you. You have to go to the waters of Mandalore. It's like, I know that this is probably going to go somewhere else, and he's probably going to learn the error of his ways or whatever. But it's still a bit like, okay, come on, stop being part of this thing.
Yeah, I'm quite looking forward to him going to Mandalore because. Obviously, it was in Rebels, not Rebels. It was in Clone Wars quite a lot, and the kind of finale with season 7 that was remade is all set on Mandalore.
Cool, okay.
And like you see Mandalore, it's quite cool. But then obviously in this, you're told that it was like destroyed
and
by
I think
the
we
Empire.
saw in season 2 like a Terminator-y shot of like the droids killing it and stuff.
So I'm quite looking forward to going there. Part of me was like, it seems. I mean, part of a lot of the Mandalorian is him going off on random tangent adventures. Yeah. And there was a bit in this where he had to, I was like, I kind of just want. I think because they've teased Mandalore, I'm like, I kind of want him to just get there.
There was a definite like, oh, here's your side quest for the next couple of episodes in this. Yeah.
I liked how he was teaching Grogu like the Mandalorian ways, and he was like, oh, this is a planet in the same system. This is a Mandalorian castle.
And he started showing him the controls and stuff. He was like, this is what this means. I liked we go back to, I think it's Navarro, is it?
Yeah.
And I didn't like, so in the opening, like previously on, they really hammer in the Navarro stuff.
Yeah, and I was like, that's right. You see IG-11
and you see Carl Weathers' character, he's there. And then when they go there, I missed the automated thing saying the name of the planet. And I'm like, this place looks familiar. Is this something from something else? And they even have that like archway that we've seen like 100 times. And it's only when like he gets up to Carl Weathers and he's in this like amazing like robe and he's got the little droids carrying his cloak. Did you see it?
They were fun.
And it's like like it's really nice to see this same place, but it's obviously doing much better now, and it was quite fun. And there's the pirate there. That whole thing was quite funny.
I like then the dogfight in space around the asteroids where he's just taking them out one really by one.
I thought the actual pirate look themselves, like obviously there's the guy we see at the end who looked like a weird like seaweed like swamp thing. Yeah, that's cool, and I'm excited to see, because we hear a lot of stuff about pirates and like smugglers and Star Wars, but these are like pirates, which is really fun. Yeah. And they mention Cara June has been taken off to some special forces recruitment.
She went back to her home planet.
It was like, they mentioned it. And IG-11 comes back briefly.
And tries to kill Grogu.
And I was like, oh, it's Taika Waititi, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, oh, not for much longer. And then, and the Babu Fricks from fucking whatever. The last one.
I like that he's sitting in that little room.
He just squished. And it's really funny that like he starts off, you can't understand them, and then some of it you can understand, but Carl Weathers is still just saying.
That was saying like really obvious thing, and it was like, I get it. And then Grogu like hugs them.
Hugging them. Yeah, that's like the two like sequel trilogy cute things together. Basically,
I also like when they got to Navarro, there was the weird monkey things in the trees. You see one, Jabba's got one, and it was making like the same sounds. And I was like, that's a fun little reference.
I was like, this place looks really cool. Like, they've like, and then it is just like a cooler version. I
saw a TikTok of Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni having a chat, and they were talking about whether or not Luke Skywalker is an actual Jedi, and they're saying like in like I think it's Empire Strikes Back, Yoda's like the Jedi are no more, but then in The Last Jedi, Yoda says you're the last Jedi, and he's like, but he's never done like any of the ceremony and stuff, and then they're just like nerding out, and then they're like, this is how we spend most of our time together, and then now and then we'll like write some of it down as like plot ideas. There's like they literally just chat like Star Wars lore.
That's good because they've got like the official Star Wars story group or whatever who keep it like on canon, but these guys could probably do that themselves without the necessary.
Sometimes they're like, we have these discussions, and then they're like, right, let's drag some people out and put this into a story.
So the Babu Fricks, whatever their race is, they are like, you can fix this guy IG-11, but he won't have the same memories.
Yeah.
And he's like, I need this one because I don't trust any other droids.
Yeah.
And supposedly he's now going off to get parts, but do you reckon he'll just find a different droid or something, or?
I don't know. I think,
or is that just the start of something else?
Yeah, I think they probably will bring him back. The fact that they've teased him so much, and maybe
with a different voice.
Yeah, they might. I mean, they'll bring him back probably.
Yeah, no, they probably will. Yeah, yeah.
But hopefully he goes to Mandalore soon.
And then in the castle, Bo-Katan, is that what she's called?
Yeah,
she's
just like by herself. She's like, I'm giving up. You've got the fucking dark saber.
I thought I understand that, you know, that's gonna go somewhere. But when the episode ended like very abruptly, I was like, okay, like I felt like maybe they could have saved that bit for another episode. Do you know what I mean? I can see like I can see why it was in there, but it still felt a little bit. This is what I mean. Like it had the bit at the start where they saved the other Mandalorian cult from the big crocodile turtle dinosaur.
Yeah.
And then we had the main bit on Navarro, and then with the space fight, that's part of it. And then we just had like a little, almost like a post credits of Bo-Katan.
Yeah.
It was a lot packed into like 35 minutes, but you know,
it was.
I mean, it was a good season opener, I'd say.
Yeah, I was like, I kind of wish I was planning on rewatching the first 2 seasons in build. I kind of wish I had, but I just ran out of time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good to be like back in that world and seeing him getting up to his stuff. It's like,
yeah.
Cool.
I was thinking if you hadn't watched Book of Boba Fett, you wouldn't know how Grogu gets back with him.
Yeah.
And I would have thought that they could have put a little clip of that in the opening.
Yeah. It's
I mean,
kind of,
they expecting
they just assume everyone's watched everything.
Or call Book of Boba Fett the Mandalorian - Book of Boba Fett :book, you know,
season 2.5.
Yeah, because it effectively, yeah.
We had a whole episode about Boba Fett.
I wouldn't be surprised if when it kind of gets collected in the future that they will kind of add that little bit on the front. But
yeah, it was good fun. I was looking forward to the next episode, which hopefully we'll get to talk about next week.
Yeah, depending on time of recording, we'll try and do it like this and have it so that when these episodes come out, it is the most recent episode. But anyone who listens knows that doesn't always work out for us because of time of recording, etc.
We can't always schedule things correctly.
No, we cannot.
But yeah, I think that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you for listening. It's a pleasure having you here. Please give us 5 stars if you can on whatever you listen to this on. It does go a long way to helping. It's much appreciated. You can also get in contact with us, can't you, Sam?
You can. If you would like to suggest something that we can watch in the coming future, is that what people say? Coming future? In the near future. Please send us an email at theprojectpod@gmail.com. If you want to find our socials, you can find us in the link tree in the episode description. So if you give me a very concerned look there, Lewis.
Oh, really?
I said something wrong. If you want to see TikTok clips posted, they all go up on the TikTok, which you can find by the link in the episode description.
Yeah, go on, and the rest.
And,
you can get there.
If you want to recommend people you can do that. We also have John Wick silver screen projects that are going up at the moment. Johnny Wickles.
Oh, Johnny Wickles.
Johnny Wickles silver screen projects going up in the lead up to Johnny Wickles Chapter 4.
Yep, we do.
So check those out if you like Mr. Johnny Wickles. But I think that's everything, though, isn't it?
Yes. I will hear you next week.
And I'll see you next time, PP Squad.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.